I am so stoked to have my next guest join us. He just dropped his debut EP called Malleable. It is Max Leone. Max, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
This is a different aesthetic than I've seen in some previous interviews that you've done. So is this a real background? Is this a snapshot of your bedroom and you're someplace else?
This is real. I recently rearranged my room. I kind of like switched it around. So I have more studio space now and less sleeping space.
I'm digging it. I know we just met literally just minutes ago. We're strangers, but just like on TikTok, I want to do something with you right off the bat that I found very interesting that you did on your TikTok, which is this sheesh business. And you posted the longest sheesh. So I would like to challenge you on this because I feel like I can beat you.
Really? Okay. I haven't been practicing.
If we can do this. Okay, on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Sheesh.
Oh my God.
Sheesh.
You destroyed me.
Wow. It took some time for me to beat you on the video that you posted, and I wasn't sure if you've been practicing since or what.
No, that was my last attempt on that video.
Well, I would like to attribute to the fact that I live in San Francisco and I walk up and down the hills. So therefore, I hope my lungs are in better shape than someone who grew up in Oregon.
Yeah, I spend most of my time sitting here in this room, so I don't get a whole lot of exercise.
Right. You're from Oregon, and the Pac Northwest has a great roster and long history of bands and music that has come out of the region. And you, specifically in the Portland area, you have the Shins and Decemberists, and Modest Mouse lives there now and all this stuff. Did you grow up with those type of artists, that type of influence?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, I grew up on a lot of like singer-songwriter music, and yeah, definitely like the Shins, the Decemberists. I remember one of my first sessions, I was somehow connected to this guy who worked at a studio, and I was maybe in 6th grade or something, and he was just kind of doing a favor for me. He was like, "Yeah, come down to the studio, we'll like record a song." But I remember in that session, he was like, "Yeah, this is where Portugal the Man record," and I was like blown away. I was like, "Oh my God, there are people like bands, successful bands that are actually making music in Portland." So that was kind of like a cool realization for me, because I feel like a lot of smaller cities like Portland are kind of it's kind of hard to find that sort of that like inspiration that comes from your city. And so it was cool for me to realize that you can kind of come from anywhere and be successful. So
wow, what an experience. I mean, it's in 6th grade or however old you were to be exposed to that. That had to been life-changing in a way, because you were already on the way or thinking about becoming a musician.
Yeah, I definitely, I started thinking about writing songs pretty young. I think it was definitely my Jack Johnson Campfire like singer-songwriter roots that inspired that, because I think a lot of the songs that I grew up listening to were very like sing-songy, and it just kind of makes you want to like write your own songs. I feel like there's a lot of that in that music. So yeah, as soon as I like figured out chords and stuff, I was writing my own songs, and then just looking at how I could record them. And so any opportunity that came up, I was quick to jump on.
Was Banana Pancakes one of the first songs you learned how to play?
Yes, that whole In Between Dreams album, I learned all the songs.
Now, from what I understand, your mom was the one who gave you the album. And so what's her musical background? Is she musical? Does she play an instrument? Or your parents in general?
They're not super musical people, I would say. Neither of them play instruments or anything like that, but yeah, they definitely were super supportive of me, and also I have an older sister, and they really wanted us to learn instruments and be kind of involved in some sort of creative pursuit. And I think that music was kind of the most obvious choice there. And so I was, taken to violin lessons and drum lessons, and they didn't really work out. And then guitar lessons, and that was the one that really stuck with me from an early age. And so they were definitely instrumental in that kind of realization of wanting to do music. And but them as people aren't super, I wouldn't say like into playing music, but they definitely have like great music taste, and so that was great.
Yeah, obviously that's awesome. And so they also expose you to a wide range of music. I hear, obviously the Jack Johnson reference, but then also Pink Floyd and Cat Stevens, singer-songwriters like you referenced there. What was their upbringing? What was informing them and shaping their musical taste that they handed down to you?
Yeah, well, they both grew up on the West Coast. My dad is from Eugene, Oregon, and my mom was from Los Gatos, California, and then both kind of raised on the Pacific Northwest. And I think especially my mom's side, her parents were very like into the whole like hippie movement in the 70s and Grateful Dead and Bob Dylan and all of those kinds of artists. So I think she was kind of exposed to all that great music as a kid, and so that really informed her music taste growing up. And so she was super into like the 80s, lots of disco and funk and that sort of world. And then my dad was more into like the Pink Floyd, classic rock, like Led Zeppelin and Bruce Springsteen and that sort of world. So they definitely have like their separate worlds, but I was getting both of those. So it was definitely kind of like a good mix.
That's cool. Well, we hear that influence in your music that you make, and certainly on this EP that you just dropped, that a lot of people are digging because of its subject matter and relatability. What
Yeah.
has been the overarching response?
Yeah, I think you kind of said it there for a second. I think that there's a lot of songs that I wrote, as songs for myself, where I was just talking about my experience. And what I've learned over the past year or so is that so many people share that experience, and it's not just something that I was going through by myself. And it's actually this kind of like worldwide, there are so many people that are going through the same thing, and it's maybe not something that we talk about a lot, but that was kind of eye-opening for me, especially with the song like Cautious. I've gotten a lot of messages from people who are like, this song perfectly explains what I've been feeling. And I wrote that song completely alone in my apartment in LA, and I had no friends and I didn't know anyone, and that song was just me being like, I feel so like isolated and I don't know what to do about it, and people really can relate to that. And so that's been pretty cool to see.
How do you think these songs are going to translate live as things are looking really bright for the future right now?
Yeah, that's something I just can't wait to do, is play live shows. And what's cool about and unique about the position that I'm in is that when I do play shows, I think that there will be some people in the audience who are already familiar with the songs, and this is a new project, and so I think it will be cool to see how people will react to songs that they've been listening to for like a year and never heard live, and so it's gonna be really fun to see that, and I'm so excited. I can't wait to get out.
Live shows are going to be so interesting for artists like yourself who have released new music during this time, the great pandemic of the 20s, because these are going to be so nostalgic.
Yeah, and I've realized that too, where I do this thing where I'll make a playlist for each month, and so I can go back and listen to all the songs that I was listening to in a specific month. And recently I've been going back to just like March 2020 when the pandemic first started, And it is nostalgic to hear those songs, even though it hasn't been that long, but it really takes you back to like that moment in time. And so, yeah, I think that'll be an interesting aspect of the live
Right,
show.
exactly, because we've been standing still. It's Groundhog Day,
Exactly.
basically. Well, hey, congrats on this EP. I'm a big fan. I can't wait to see you perform live here. I know a lot of people are dying to see you live perform these songs, and really excited for what you have coming up in the future.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to do this with you.